What? What? Did the Eagles just pick up their first home win of the season? Did Jalen Hurts run for 3 touchdowns? Did the number 1 defense in the NFL look like the Detroit Lions? Yes. The answer is yes across the board. And you out there, hold on, it's getting hot already with this playoff talk heating up. Woo! The Philadelphia Eagles destroy the New Orleans Saints. No Trevor Siemian is going to come back against this team. Not with Jalen Hurts and the secret weapon of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Look, the reality is, J.J. aside, Jalen Hurts and that Philadelphia Eagles offense got up big. Jalen Hurts fuels this team against the tough defense. Jalen Hurts has solidified himself as the quarterback moving forward. So you know what? Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie and anybody else that matters in that front office when it comes to team building and direction, scouting to anybody up to the top, it's now on you. You're on official notice right now. Jalen Hurts has played himself into the starting quarterback position, and it's not even a question anymore. And if you're worried about, accuracy, or if you're worried about him throwing the football when he has to throw 40 times, let's hope that's not often. That's something you grow. That's something you build. If you're concerned about him not getting there, then you don't have the right people around him. This is his second season in the NFL. If you're not confident that you can't build around that young man, then you don't have the right people building. You have the tools. Devontae Smith, again, in a limited passing game. Just how dominant can that young man be? I'm giddy right now over the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles have landed a quarterback and wide receiver tandem that can grow for the next decade. And Jalen Hurts, what he's doing on the ground doesn't make up, doesn't compensate. It fuels the offense. And why would you stray away from that? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, these are the two individuals you need to start looking at as far as molds that Jalen Hurts can both fit and then bust eventually, break out of eventually into his own human being, his own player. There's no other real quarterback out there because Jalen doesn't have a cannon. Jalen can't throw, and he doesn't need that right now. He's got a good arm, don't get me wrong. Maybe not the best arm, but he doesn't need to have the best arm in the NFL to clearly win football games and help his team win football games. He is such a danger on the floor and can make throws and is improving. Clearly, we see it this year overall, improving his accuracy. He can get better. A lot of people, a lot of young players can get better. Jalen Hurts can get better. And if somebody out there is not confident that the Philadelphia Eagles can't grow Jalen Hurts into a top 5, top 10, at least starting quarterback, then I'm not talking fantasy top 10, real world top 5 quarterback in the NFL, then you have the wrong people doing it. It's as simple as that. What this offense has now become is two things. One, I know definitively. The other, I just don't know yet. And this is the difference between the first half of the season and the second half of the season that so many people are going to be talking about, that myself, Matt Mullin, Evan Macy coming up here are going to be talking about as well, which is why. Why was there this seismic shift in offensive philosophy that we saw once again illustrated and then ultimately executed against the New Orleans Saints, to where the Saints had nothing? And it was awesome to see that, right? First home win for the fans. Before I even let down what happened there as far as the New Orleans Saints' hopes of doing anything positive this season with Trevor Siemian, no Alvin Kamara, all the other linemen that were down and everything, let's just take a second, if we all can. There are a lot of people at Lincoln Financial Field each and every home game. These are people like us. They're all like us. except they're the ones fortunate enough with and through their own sacrifice, or maybe just through proxy or circumstance of, hey, I got an extra ticket, whatever it may be. But these are people who are going down representing us, the Philadelphia Eagles fan community. And for 4 straight games, left in disappointment, left feeling some sense of shame, some sense of embarrassment, some sense of frustration, some sense of, dare I even say, anger. And we saw the ramifications of that. The team would get buried because it was up close. It wasn't just on television through the broadcast. It was up close. And that was huge to see really the first win at home was big for the team. It's big for playoff talk. It's big for all the things that are going on with the Eagles organization, but it's bigger for the people that are going to be here no matter who moves on. No matter what happens with the team, with Hurts, with the picks, no matter what happens with Nick Sirianni or Jonathan Gannon, the people who are down there watching that game on Sunday, they're going to be there. And they'll be there for the next coach and the next coach after that and the next quarterback after that. And you remember games like this. It may not be the first game you ever remember in the history of games you were at, but it might only be one game. Or maybe this was someone's first game. It's not for everybody to be able to afford to go down there and pay for everything that piles up. Sometimes you can only get to one. Or sometimes it was just your first. And you got to see Jalen Hurts run for 3 touchdowns and make history. Amazing. And I'm happiest, honestly, for the people out there who have been watching bad football at home and finally got a taste of what it's like for other fans around the league to see their team win at home. That was major. Thank you. Thank you, Jalen Hurts. Thank you, Nick Sirianni. Thank you, Darius Slay, who I'm concerned may not be out there for the Giants game. That's something we'll talk about on the way out. Thank you. Gigantic victory for the Philadelphia Eagles, the way in which it was done, imposing their will. And you want to know why the seismic shift? You want to know why? We'll talk about our 3 keys today as well as we normally do. Maybe we'll turn our 3 keys into what we're thankful for, if we can go full cliche. But this is why there's been a seismic shift in the offense. This is why the Philadelphia Eagles went in the first half, if you will, of the season from being pass heavy and we're throwing the football no matter what to establishing a rush first identity, the competition. They're taking what's in front of them and they're applying the game strategy, and then the game flow works out accordingly. You're not going to throw much when you're up against the Lions. You're not going to throw much when you're up against Denver. Here's the thing. Much like we saw with the New Orleans Saints and Trevor Siemian, this is not an excuse. This is not an excuse. This is not an excuse. This is not a justification for the win. This is not a justification for the win. This is not a justification for the win. You have to say things 3 times over in order to reinforce it in the brain. So I want to make sure that you understand I'm not trying to take anything away. I'm trying to explain the difference. Trevor Siemian without Alvin Kamara and a bunch of linemen. Teddy Bridgewater in general, also down 3 offensive linemen. These offenses, Detroit and Jared Goff, these offenses aren't built to come back. They're not. These offenses are not designed to lead a 17, 20-point comeback. I know it got close, but that's frustration on the defense that we'll talk about with the 3 keys. I know it got close, but it really didn't. The offense did enough in the first half to put that game out. It just got close at the end. It didn't get tight, and they didn't lose the lead. But the difference is you can get up on teams with bad quarterback play. Yeah, focus on the defense all you want. The fact that they ran on Denver, the fact that they ran on New Orleans, that's a great sign. That is a fantastic sign. But once you're up on teams like Detroit, once you're up on teams like Denver and New Orleans, this New Orleans Saints team, you ain't coming back if you're those squads. Trevor Siemian. Now, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Sam Darnold when he wasn't like Sam Darnold from the Jets. Although you saw what happened where they still had to come back and win that football game in Carolina. Similar scenarios played out early on where outside of Atlanta, we saw this team down and trying to claw back. That's what we don't know yet. But the good news is they haven't been down like that. Even the Chargers game was tight enough to where they did not have to abandon the game plan. So that's it. Multiple means to the same end, which is keep a game close or get up. At the very least, keep it close. Ideally, you need to be up. First half, first quarter. That's the case. You'll start to see this continued commitment of running the football. If they get down to the New York Giants, if they get down to Washington or Dallas, whatever the case may be, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not thinking about that right now. All right, let's get to it. Matt Mullin, Evan Macy back with us each week here on Post Flight. And once again, we have an Eagles victory to talk about, fueled by the ground game. And yeah, it comes against the number one rush defense in the NFL. Definitely should be mentioned. Jalen Hurts doing stuff that is historic. But I also feel myself watching an offense that they played against thinking, wow, there's some serious gaps in talent by all means. But look, a ton of great things to take away. And people want to focus on Jalen Reagor or the defensive slide, all the power to them. But Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, and this offense getting big up on the Saints. I know, Evan, you were down there. Matt, we'll get your thoughts on it as well. But I feel like getting that first home victory, as much and as important as it is in the big picture for the team, the team and the players, it was really cool to see just the fans this year get a victory.
Yeah, I agree. I thought I might have been the bad luck charm just because I hadn't been at the home games until now, but they finally.
I think it was Sirianni.
Yeah, he has a lot more to do with it than I do. But yeah, the atmosphere was great, and they really won convincingly. And my favorite part of the game, honestly, was the fans leaving early, making my drive home after the game a breeze. But we'll focus on what actually happened on the field. Yeah, I mean, the thing that's fun is I don't know if I can remember, and I'm sure the answer to this is probably 2017 or 2018, but I can't remember the last time the Eagles had like an explosive team. I know the last couple of years it was just so freaking boring and slow. There were really no explosive plays on either side of the ball, and there were just so many just like out of nowhere plays. You had the Darius Slay pick six. You had that run by Hurts to score that touchdown that kind of clinched it at the end. There were a couple great passes to Zach Ertz. Look at me, to Dallas Goedert.
Ertz had a day.
Ertz had a day too. I'm mixing up my Eagles tight ends, but yeah, it's fun in comparison to having been there in recent seasons when there's really not much that's exciting. There were a lot of big cheers, which was fun for the fans, and it was good for the scoreboard.
Well, it's funny, Evan, you mentioned it being an explosive team. And you would think, like, with the way they played the first 6 games of the season or so, that was kind of what they were trying to be, and they were unsuccessful at it. And now that they've gone to this run-first identity, look at how it's opened them up. I mean, some of the explosive plays sure have been on the defensive side of the ball or special teams. But, like, it's just been, I remember thinking about midway through this game, I was like, wow, I'm actually having fun watching an Eagles football game. Like, it's actually enjoyable just to watch, regardless of what the score is. The product that they're putting out there is fun. It's fun football.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. And look, I think it's coming at the expense of who they're playing against, but that's the difference this year, right? Is earlier in the season, this team probably loses 2 of these games over the last 4 that they won 3 of 4, like the Chargers game, and they probably find a way to lose either in Denver or a huge game and then have a letdown here against the Saints. And I'm saying all things are equal, like Teddy Bridgewater down a couple of offensive linemen may beat him, or the Saints down everybody may beat him. But the difference now is that they are convincingly beating down teams that have deficiencies. And that's what you love to see. It doesn't matter like how great this team is week to week. It's they're taking advantage of circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was just going to say, you can only play the teams on your schedule. And someone said something, I think I saw Mike K from NJ.com tweet something after the game saying like, well, like in quotes, like this team only beats bad teams. And he's like, well, yeah, good teams typically they beat the bad team. Like the Eagles are beating the teams that they should be beating. And that's something that is a definite positive sign from this team, regardless of the opponent.
I really don't know what the answer to this is, but Eytan just kind of got me thinking, if the schedule were somehow reversed with everything equal, with the same players missing, etc., what would have happened if the Eagles were able to start against the division opponents who were kind of crappy and against all these teams with quarterbacks like Bridgewater and Simeon? Yeah. And then at the end of the year, they had Mahomes, they had Brady, they had Dak. I'm wondering how that would have turned out. Would they have maybe that would have been the tanking season that people were hoping for, that scenario, because it would have been hard to beat some of the best teams in the NFC down the stretch. It's really interesting how much the schedule is like. I wrote an article today about the quarterbacks coming up, and they're all just absolute trash. I mean, I think one of the quarterbacks they're facing, not including Dak Prescott, who might not even play in Week 18, is in the top 20 as far as fantasy football points for quarterbacks go. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of the football gods are gifting, a playoff berth that they're just kind of fall back into.
It's give and take, I think, right? Because hypothetically, if we flip the season, then I think Nick Sirianni realizes, just out of circumstance alone, as we've seen over the last month, that it's easier to get up on teams like Detroit. And once you get up on Denver, they ain't coming back. And Trevor Siemian is not a true starting quarterback, especially when he doesn't have Lyman and Alvin Kamara. These aren't excuses. What they are reasons why it's easier, far easier to get to the run and then stick to the run and play downfield. Look, Jalen Hurts is the wild card. So I feel like if we were to flip things, we would probably be teetering on this similar access, although you're right, it would be trending the opposite way, where we've seen this team commit to the run for the first 6-7 weeks of the season, and then we start to see Mahomes and Dak, and then start to think to us, Cam Newton, right? Oh, man, are they going to be down now to have to throw a ton and abandon the run and maybe think of that way? But yeah, definitely Sirianni would have got to the run quicker. I think that's an interesting question, but that would be my answer.
Yeah, just to jump back in, because did they need to get spanked by Dak Prescott in Dallas? And did they need to have Tom Brady kind of wipe the floor with them? Did they need to have Derek Carr complete 85% of his passes? Were these kicks in the butt necessary for these adjustments? Because if the Eagles come out of the gate playing crappy division opponents, maybe the scheme to start the year would have worked. They would have won some games, and they would not have learned and made the progress they made. So maybe there's another benefit.
And I think that kind of brings me back to the number one thing I want to know about this football team right now, not in terms of what's happening going forward, but what has already happened this season, is how did that change happen? What happened? When did Nick Sirianni have the realization? Who told him? Did it come from someone else? What was the process? We're going to abandon everything we've been doing for the first 6 weeks of the season and completely change the identity of this football team. How does that happen? It was totally the right move. I just want to know, where that came from, because if that came from Sirianni himself, I think that says a lot about him as a coach.
Okay. And I'm not downplaying it from Sirianni, and I'm not trying to move away from the fact that he's unlocked some secret code here by any means. But I'm curious.
Yeah.
No. I'm prefacing that. Sorry. By saying, are we oversimplifying this? And again, I'm not taking it the other far end of it as well, which is, he fell on this thing ass backwards. He and everybody around him deserve credit for recognizing something and sticking with it. But I go back to what I was talking earlier on my question with Evan, Matt. Are we maybe oversimplifying this, and it's just simply out of circumstance? Hey, when you're up so much against Detroit, you're not going to keep throwing the football. You're taking on a Chargers team that they definitely bled the clock and kept long drives, but their main weakness as well was running the football, where you could run on them. So there was an opportunity with them. And then the next two teams, we've seen bad quarterback play, really struggling quarterback play, to where if you're up on Denver, if you're up on New Orleans, it's really difficult for these teams with everything that they're dealing with, injury and maybe lack of talent. to come back. Like Trevor Siemian is making mistakes that Dak Prescott isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like Teddy Bridgewater isn't coming back like Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady can. And it's not we're stuck in this like right or wrong world. I'm not saying that it's a negative. I'm just thinking maybe we've oversimplified this and things have just been given to Sirianni to where it's like game script is, okay, you got to keep running the football, and they have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is circumstance, but I think this was kind of, and it is Trevor Siemian. It's not Drew Brees or something like that, but this was the test where they're going up against the number one run defense in the NFL. And all week, everyone was kind of like, oh, I'm worried Sirianni's going to, let Hurts throw it 35 times, 40 times, whatever. And they stuck with it. Yes, they got up big. But I think even when the Saints started to come back late in the game, they stuck with the run. And I think, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. They've found ways now to be explosive on the ground where they don't have to be explosive through the air. They can more pick their spots, and target Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert when they want to. So I don't think it really has been. And I don't, honestly, with the opponents they have left down the stretch, are we really going to get to see what the answer to this question is? Because theoretically they should go up early in some of these games they have the rest of the way and be able to run the ball all over these teams.
I also think Jalen Hurts, his name should come up. He's such a different look. I mean, we have a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, but I don't really see Patrick Mahomes, just kind of shaking off his reads and running for daylight, in the scramble situation. I see a lot of a Lamar Jackson type of guy who has a lot of designed runs. And Jalen Hurts, at least I'm not an X's and O's guy, but from what I'm seeing, it really looks like he's kind of a unique specimen for a defense because he kind of just, at the first daylight he sees, he kind of abandons whatever the passing play is, and he's able to pick up 5, 6, 7 yards. Sometimes he breaks it. And that's got to offer a defense, a different thing that they have to worry about, which probably leads to why the Eagles are able to run the ball effectively, because they're worried about Jalen Hurts kind of, wiggling through the pocket and getting a couple of yards.
He said exactly that after the game. He said that was kind of the thing that allowed them to be successful, or why he wasn't afraid to go away from the run again, or why, he didn't go away from the run against this defense, was because Jalen Hurts is a different kind of player who makes defenses completely adjust what they're doing. And he thought that added wild card would be enough to open up holes and let their, run game thrive, despite the fact that the Saints were, the best against the run.
Yeah, the RPO. And again, a lot of this is just coming from making plays where Hurts is able to hold on to the football as long as possible, and an RPO is able to make something happen. So it's either designed in the sense of like he's forcing the play with a run pass option, or it's a complete breakdown and the pocket collapse, or there's a pass rush, or nobody's open in time and he has to now move with the football. And that goes back to Evan's point. And, as we look at everything here, I know we're looking ahead as well to both next week and the possibility of the postseason. But with Jalen Hurts specifically, there isn't anybody in the NFL that I think you can make the argument is more, right? He's at least as dangerous with the football in his hands as anybody in the NFL. Doesn't mean he's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson, a better quarterback than Josh Allen. It just means that when you're talking about hand with football, it's hard to argue that he's not as dangerous because of what he can do on the ground. And that's crazy when you're talking about 12, 13 completions in a game, and it didn't even feel like he threw the football or that he had to throw the football.
Yeah, and it kind of is a disservice that we've talked about the Eagles' run game for like 10 minutes, and we haven't talked about their offensive line, because the offensive line is just freaking good.
Typical.
It's
right.
It's just fantastic. I mean, even in pass protection, how many times did Hurts, he just kind of all day. He just stood there. He didn't even know what to do. He had so much time. Hopefully that's something that they can work on. But, both run and pass, the offensive line is just unbelievable this year.
Yeah, and he's been, I think I saw a thing a couple weeks ago. He was among the league leaders in running for first downs. So he doesn't have to be completing passes to be making big plays. 3 touchdowns today, but it's not just the touchdowns. It's like Evan said, extending plays, even when the offensive line, lets a guy through or they blitz and bring extra guys. He's able to make a guy miss, extend plays. And the one thing I think we're seeing from him the last couple weeks that we weren't seeing previously is he's not bailing out of the pocket right away. Like Evan, you said, he's standing back there. A couple weeks ago, he would just, first guy wasn't there, second guy wasn't there. He was taking off. Now he's running through the reads twice, even letting guys try to make their own plays afterwards and then taking off when necessary. And I think that's a huge sign for his development.
Yeah. It's awesome to see. Awesome to see. All right, fellas, yes or no? Matt, then Evan. Eagles make the playoffs. Matt?
No.
We're going to come back to this next week.
I'd say yes. 4 wins gets them to 9. They play the Giants twice, Washington twice, and the Jets. I think there's 4 wins in there.
Can I qualify mine and say
no? It was just supposed to be yes or no.
I don't think it's going to be because of them. I think other teams are going to win games, and they're just not going to. They're ultimately going to fall short. I don't think they're going to collapse. I didn't want it to sound like I think they're going to, fall apart or lose to bad teams or anything like that.
It's hard to figure this league out right now. Washington's won 2 straight against Tampa Bay and then again on the road at Carolina. Like, who the hell knows what's going to happen with this Giants game? So, absolutely, I get it. All right, fellas, we'll do it again next week. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Evan.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, our 3 takeaways, 3 big keys from the football game. First, it's a micro and macro combined, and I'll reiterate what I said at the top, but it's more so a matter of specifically in the game where we didn't really talk much about, and that's Jalen Hurts and what he's able to do with the football and how dangerous of a weapon he is now without needing to throw the football. This is exactly what you want from a quarterback taking advantage of circumstance. And Jalen Hurts did that against the Saints. Jalen Hurts showed how difficult of a matchup he is to prepare for each and every week. And we saw this, again, he's not the same quarterback as Michael Vick. He's not the same as far as arm and arm capacity as Lamar Jackson or even Josh Allen, although Josh Allen is falling off the planet very fast. Jalen Hurts is as dangerous with the football as anybody in the NFL. Tyreek Hill, Derrick Henry, whoever you want to point to and say Patrick Mahomes, different means to the same end, which is danger, which is a problem, which is really difficult for the defense to contain. Tom Brady presents a really difficult matchup for opposing defenses. He is nowhere near the ability to run or running quarterback, if you will, as Jalen Hurts is, but both present headaches, different types of headaches. And you can't take the same headache powder, whatever the hell that crap is. You can't do that. No knock on the headache powder. I just never thought that would work. Advil, Motrin, what have you. You have to take different stuff, different preparation for the different headache. And Jalen Hurts is now one of the league's leading headaches in the NFL, without a doubt. And it's awesome to see that he has matured into this position and he's won it. Some of you thought, well, he already won it. I didn't need to see any more. Others are going to think, well, come on. And you can leave your comment below. We appreciate that. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, please, and you subscribe. But you're probably thinking he's not throwing. I need to see him throw more. Constant talk I hear, chatter, the teeth chattering regarding he's got to throw more in order for me to prove that or the management. Well, this is on management now to find somebody who can work with him. This is on management to find players around or just build a better defense. If you lose guys, you have a bunch of picks to work with. And now you know that Jalen Hurts is the starting quarterback. Now you know that Hurts right now for the rest of the season and beyond, I'm joining the two of them together. He's the guy. Yeah. It's the biggest takeaway of the game. Jalen Hurts is the guy. Buckle up. Let's have some fun. This kid is humble. He's focused. He's smart. He loves this game. Absolutely loves this game. And if you point to him and say, hey, you need to get better, he's going to get better. So what are we talking about? Remember how upset we were with these reports that came out that Carson Wentz wasn't listening to coaching or bucking coaching, things like that? You think even if Jalen Hurts wants to, he will? This young man is so focused right now and so consumed with the game that all he wants to do is succeed, meaning he will learn, he will take on new things, he will improve things that need to be worked on, whatever you need. Nah, this is too easy, man. Too easy. Number one key, biggest takeaway heading into the holiday break. Jalen Hurts has played himself into the number one quarterback moving forward. And there should be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Cross the T's, dot the I's, and any other cliche you want to put in there to seal the deal that Hurts is the starter. Number two, it's combo here. And I think the offensive line deserves a lot of credit. And we should talk first about the offensive line. There's also what's going on with Miles Sanders, but primarily I think the offensive line, because they've been down starters and things weren't looking good when it came to protecting Hurts dropping back so much early in the season, the offensive line is smashing right now. And it's huge to see a lot of basic concepts. And I don't mean that as a negative. I mean, it's pretty simple. Body on body, move, open a pocket. Body on body, move, open a little bit of hole there, and let somebody get behind there and make a run. And it's a lot easier now when you're full steam ahead as a running back, 3, maybe 4 yards into the defense, and you get to make a move and make a cut, make somebody miss. Much easier than trying to make a couple of guys up front miss, and then now exhale because you're in the secondary and you're out of gas. Running backs, it's easier for running backs. The offensive line has done so much for this football team, so much, and they deserve a ton of credit. They've made it easier on themselves, first and foremost. They're owning defensive lines and good defensive lines. Let's add that. That's necessary here in this conversation. They're owning good defensive lines. New Orleans, Denver before that. No reason to think that there's a D-line out there that the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line cannot own at least the majority of a football game, and that's enough to win. There's zero reason to think that after what they did against the Saints and before that, the Broncos. Now, the other part here of this takeaway is Miles Sanders. And you're going to focus on the fumbles. You've already focused on the fumbles. You've already told or maybe even tweeted somebody, and you can get me at Shander Show. Well, I like what I saw, but take a back seat, kid. The fumbles are concerning. Fumbles, I think, are an anomaly here. This is an individual who missed some time, came back, and fumbled the football a couple of times. Not good. I'm not going to sit there and say it was a good thing. I'm not going to sit here and try to make you feel better about the fumbles, because I don't. But I feel really good about what we saw with him in this new revamped offense. And I think it's the wrong thing to do if you're the coaching staff or just somebody watching the game commenting on it, to remove touches and targets and carries and remove Miles Sanders on the field because of two things that were more, not total, but more anomaly than not. I'm not willing to believe that Miles Sanders is a threat to put the ball on the carpet each and every week multiple times yet. And I'm willing to give him the benefit that this offense is now moving in his world, right? The offense is moving in his world now on the ground, where he should be able and did, outside again, I know the fumbles, thrive. Those numbers there, coming back from injury, those numbers are what you should be looking at. More so, see, I didn't stop. You thought I was going to stop me, like, what, not the fumbles? More so than the fumbles. Bigger difference there. That's where Miles Sanders fits. That's what Miles Sanders should have been doing from the jump. It's just the offense didn't catch up. Well, he took some time off. The offense changed, and then he came back. There's no reason to think that you can't continue to run Miles Sanders behind Jalen Hurts and that offensive line and use Hurts as this rushing threat as a continued opportunity to make things easier for the running backs. And that running back would be Miles Sanders first and foremost, Jordan Howard, Boston Scott secondary. That's it. Your second key is when you see an offensive lineman, thank an offensive lineman. And Miles Sanders, I'll stick up for Miles Sanders. I want to see more Miles Sanders. I'll take the risk that I'm wrong there, but I think Miles Sanders is the way to go right now as your starting running back without a doubt. Our third key, I don't know what to think. Darius Slay is in the concussion protocol, and he may not play against the New York Giants. Part of me is interested, not looking forward to or excited or even anticipating. I don't want you to think that. Interested should not connote any of that. But I am interested to see what this defense looks like without its top playmaker, without someone like Darius Slay, who has been so key and integral in these victories, making plays, finding the end zone, but really doing above and beyond. Big play Slay is out in full effect right now. And that's a huge break for any defense, a huge relief for any defense. You can take some risks, or you can just rely on your guys to make plays. So I don't know what to make of Jonathan Gannon, but I'm still not moving from my rock by any means with him. I think this defense, once again, is making plays. But this defense is making plays with the lead against bad quarterbacks. Teddy Bridgewater, the best of the bunch outside of Herbert, where we saw they just couldn't get to him. Think about that. When the defense was on full display of, okay, let's go, make a stop, do something here, win this game, it was the Chargers. Over the last month, the defense had to work once. And I'm talking about end of the game scenarios here, not, of course, each and every week. Again, I don't know how people are out there from a comprehension standpoint, and this is a recorded video, so I'm just giving you the benefit of the doubt more so than anything else, much like I would want the benefit of the doubt if I were watching somebody's video. But point being is, end of game scenario, they had to work once, and that was against the Chargers. And the Chargers bled them dry, even though there was pressure, even though Gannon and his crew were trying to get to Justin Herbert. Didn't work, man. Bled him dry. So the difference is, after Herbert did that to Gannon, 3 of the other 4 games we've seen over the last month, defenses had the lead. And for the first time, because for the first time they faced a team that at least had some talent at the wideout spot and a quarterback who can throw a little bit deeper, at least, than a Bridgewater or Goff, you had a shot. And Gannon and this defense, and Gannon first, and then this defense, they get soft and they just allow a team to come back. And it was frustrating. It didn't ruin my day. It shouldn't ruin yours. It didn't ruin the win. It shouldn't ruin it for you. But it was frustrating to see that because of 2 quick things. First, the Eagles were that team. Remember? The Eagles were that team at the start of the season. They have since flopped now and 180 by all means, but you would think that a squad who went through that very same thing where they were the team able to come back because defenses went so soft, that Gannon wouldn't do it. But that's the second part, which is it's just in him. It's just so in him, and I don't know what he can do to quit it. I can't quit you. And he ain't quitting it. No matter how big of a lead it may be, he refuses to quit. And, maybe we should just recognize the commitment as far as that being a positive. Didn't ruin the win by any means, but it's hard to ignore the fact that they were on the verge, or at least in the ballpark. That's probably the best way to put it. Blowing a pretty big lead. I don't even know if it's worth talking about a team anymore, as it's worth just looking at where the Philadelphia Eagles are with an identity and applying that each week. So I don't know about Daniel Jones to Saquon Barkley to this defense in how it's going to impact my look ahead or anybody looking ahead. It's more a matter of, are the Eagles up at the half? Are they down at the half? Or are they within 3? 4 is probably a better number. Is it less than a touchdown? Is it something where the Philadelphia Eagles can take the lead with the next possession, scoring a touchdown? Those are the 3 scenarios that I think we need to apply moving forward for the Eagles, and it will help understand at least what's going to happen with each week. Also, it'll help you try and at least capture the right mindset for where this Eagles team can be in the postseason hunt. If they have a shot at the division or if it's more a matter of that bottom wild card. Maybe something in between yet. We don't know. Because nobody has any idea with this league except for the bottom feeders. That's the one definitive thing we know. The teams on the bottom, they're like 3 of them. Teams on the bottom, they're going to lose each and every week. Miami, I still don't know. That's why I said 3. It's the Bears, it's the Jags, the Jets. They won't win games. Detroit, 4. They will not. Detroit literally won't win a game. Those are the bottom feeders. We know that. The Eagles are not a bottom feeder. We thought maybe we were concerned at the start of the season that they could be a bottom feeder. They're not a bottom feeder. They're going to finish in the teens to high teens to see where it is. I'll stop there for now. But it's exciting because the league is so wide open and the Eagles have proven that they belong in this conversation. Absolutely right. But the 3 scenarios are going to dictate what happens against the Giants first and foremost. If, in fact, the Philadelphia Eagles are up at the half, doesn't matter how much they're up by. If they're up at the half, it's going to be more of what we've seen, a heavy, healthy dose of running the football. If they're down, but it's only by 3 to 4 to maybe 5 points, just apply the same thing as if they're up. They're going to run. They're not going to move away from it. If for whatever reason, turnovers, bad drives, the Giants are on fire, I don't know. They're down 10, they're down 14, which I can't honestly see. An unlikely scenario, let's be honest. But if they're down 10, 14 points at the half, do they abandon the run to start throwing the football? That is going to be the biggest question we have heading into this game outside of Darius Slay's health. But enjoy the win. They earned it. You got to see it up close and personal. Happy for everybody. Go Birds.